question out there to think that we saw a bottom here in the stock market.
Yeah, it certainly is a question. Yeah. Everybody's been asking for that capitulation, not just in the S&P 500, but the VIX also. Are we going to get some sort of spike above 40? And we simply have not had that. Do we have a bottom in place? Let's find out. Christian Fromhertz, CEO of Tribeca Trade Group, happy Friday to you ahead of a long holiday weekend here in the U.S. And, you know, everybody's been wanting capitulation over the last couple of weeks. And yet here we have this best week that Romain was talking about since November of 2020. So it seems as though we at least have some sort of near-term rally in place. Do you think that we need an absolute panicked capitulation bottom and then the rally after it to have a real bottom?
Hey, Abigail. Well, I mean, I think we saw it in a number of things. I know, you know, a lot of investors, traders wanted to see something bigger, you know, in terms of kind of an all clear sign, but sometimes it just doesn't work that way in markets, right? And I think that we got several hints along the way. Maybe it wasn't a one-day event, but we certainly saw a lot of breadth thrust to the downside. You know, I was on the show, I think it was a few weeks ago, and I was talking about how we really saw some of the worst breadth of this year, and that was 2 particular days earlier this month. So I think that was something because we've seen that similarly on other, you know, particular times where we've seen capitulation. And then you've also seen, you know, single stocks on earnings. We saw Walmart, we saw Snap, we saw Target. You know, I mean, those are huge downside moves. So it may not have occurred all at once, but we definitely, I think, saw it in a couple of different areas of the market.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point on those single stocks, because that selling that we saw in the likes of Target and some of those other retailers really pretty incredible, and certainly probably did feel like capitulation outside of the fact that there wasn't that snapback rally that sometimes happens on true bottoms. And then, you know, relative to options from a macro standpoint, what are you thinking relative to the VIX? Back below 20?
Well, I mean, I think that we're moving in the direction of the lower 20s, where we've seen that before this year. So that'll be something to watch. I mean, I think also just watching, you know, going back to overall breadth, which we saw get better last week while the indices were still going down, I think that'll be a good tell as well. You know, and that's something that we're going to want to watch besides the VIX, but just watch for something that changes as we're moving up. And I think that'll be a signal if and when it happens.
And, you know, so much talk right now about the whole idea that value is going to be the big trade going forward over growth. I guess if the rally gets strong enough, it would probably go back to growth. Your lithium space, that really has been on fire, for lack of a better way to put it, up and away. How does that fit in? And talk to us about your trade.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those areas that kind of fits in the middle between value and growth, because some of these names, they're not valued at very high, and the earnings have been spectacular in names like SQM, and LTHM is another one, as well as Albemarle was just huge earnings. So I think, you know, while the overall group, LIT is the ETF in the space, is still in a downtrend, I like playing, you know, if you're going to take a shot at a name in a downtrend, I think options is a great way to do it. And I like the July 78 calls, which cost about $240, and that gets you back to around the 200-day moving average in the whole group, the ETF.
Great stuff. Christian Fromhertz, Tribeca Trade Group, CEO over there. I hope you have a wonderful long weekend, and to all of our viewers as well. From New York, this is Bloomberg.